Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Director of the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, Michelle Forbes, said that persons are still not planning for hazards, and this is evident so far during the hurricane season, following flooding and landslides which affected many residents. Forbes said following their assessment of hazards, it was found that some persons had disregarded the building codes, and she pointed to the connection between this and landslides, which affected many homes.
What we are seeing is that persons who are digging into the banks for construction and are not doing it properly, then the banks eventually, when they're saturated, the banks actually slide and even can collapse on the homes. So we're asking persons, when you're actually cutting into the bank, to seek some technical guidance before you do so. And then there's some areas that are quite vulnerable to landslides that you want to avoid digging into the banks. And if you do build in vulnerable areas, you have to also ensure that your drainage is done properly. You have to take the water away from your property.
With respect to the structure of homes, Forbes said it was found that not enough steel was used on some buildings, or the buildings were too close to waterways. The NEMO director cautioned persons to be alert and to address any problems with their houses very early.
You have to control the runoff from the roof, otherwise along you can be undermined, and then of course the house will be the house or the structure can be compromised. So we are seeing a lot of those issues. Persons who are living along the river banks and so forth can also be impacted. But what we are also having is a small burst of heavy rainfall that is really triggering some of the flooding in localized areas.
The NEMO director is encouraging persons to plan for hazards like they plan for the Christmas season or other important occasions. Minister of Tourism Carlos James is urging Vincentians to be more supportive of the local tourism sector, especially now that the relevant tourism services are being impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking yesterday at a Thanksgiving service to mark the start of Tourism Week, the minister said the challenges faced by service providers are real and that using the services available will mean a lot to them.
How many of us, though we have our motor vehicles, but how many of us would call a taxi maybe once a week or once a month and say, let me take a taxi from home to work today? Because as simple as you do that, it puts $1 in a taxi operator's hand. Many of us, we're no longer able to travel to Miami or New York during a holiday period. But how many of us would say, we have a birthday coming up, let's stay at a hotel, a local hotel, or let's go to a restaurant to dine tonight. Let's not cook tonight, but let's go out and have a meal. And you might think that also it doesn't bear on what we do as a country, but as simple as that, gestures of that nature, putting aside 1 day per week or 1 day per month based on your finances, is contributing to the economy, it's contributing to the stakeholders in the economy, and will play a significant role in, as the theme said, tourism is our business.
James added that supporting the local services will go a long way in building the local economy, and he identifies some ecotourism sites which can benefit from such support.
And even the beaches, when we go, for instance, in Darkview Fall, I know there's a small pittance that you contribute, and also I see my good friend from the Botanic Gardens, you pay a small fee to go in. But there are some locals who will complain and say, well, why do I have to pay? I live here. Paying $1 or $5, I don't know what the charge is, but just that one contribution is going to enhancing that site. Having a sustainable environment in which we can function and flourish as an industry is an important role. And I ask that if we don't take anything away from this week of activities, is that we take this message away, that we all have that important role to play in contributing to our economy. And that is by supporting the stakeholders.
This week is Tourism Week, and a number of activities have been planned to build awareness about the tourism industry. It is being held under the theme, Tourism is everyone's business. Live it, love it, embrace it. The Republic of China on Taiwan on Monday, November 16, 2020, handed over a check for $212,000 to the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment as part of the capacity building project for the prevention and control of diabetes in SVG. The Ministry of Health said in a news release that the funds will be used to purchase testing supplies for the analyzers located at the Chateaubriand Health Center, the Bookament Polyclinic, the Levi Layton Polyclinic, the Stubbs Polyclinic, and at the Port Elizabeth Health Center. This is expected to increase the ministry's capacity to provide testing services for HbA1c and lipids, that is 3 months sugar level and cholesterol within 15 minutes at these 5 health facilities. This will make it more convenient for clients who need these test results to monitor their cardiovascular risk, to diagnose pre-diabetes, and to control their diabetes, which is a leading cause of disability and amputations in the state. 17 students and a teacher from the Barley Technical Institute, BARTEC, have completed a one-week training seminar titled Design Thinking to Develop a Business. The seminar was organized by the Center for Enterprise Development, CED, in collaboration with the Saving Bank and Foundation for International Cooperation, the SBFIC, to mark Global Entrepreneurship Week 2020 under the theme Preparing the Next Generation of Entrepreneurs. Design thinking is a new approach to help entrepreneurs develop their business ideas. It is a reflective toolkit that focuses on people and customers and offers a variety of tools and methods to create and develop innovative business ideas. Speaking at the closing exercise last Friday, the SBFIC's master trainer, Diana Pfeiffer, said she was pleased with the outcome and implored the participants to start businesses and help to develop the country.
A responsibility for you and for others when you provide small jobs to members of your communities with your business. That all is amazing and this is worth it. So let me say that very clear. Being an entrepreneur, that means being the backbone for your island, for your country. Therefore, let me assure you, every single one of you, you can be an entrepreneur. You are allowed to dream big, very big. And remember, every journey starts with the first step, and you did the first step already by participating in that workshop.
Commending the participants for embracing the design thinking method, which is also used by Fortune 500 companies, co-trainer Tessa Samuel encouraged them to now develop their ideas.
So do not let anything or anyone discourage you, because that will come with starting your own business. Surround yourselves with positive thoughts, positivity, positive people who can help you, people who can encourage you, people who believe in you, because it is going to be very important for the next steps. Starting a business is never easy, but it is very, very rewarding. And if you can patronize people's businesses every day, other people can patronize yours in the next few years, okay?
The SBFIC's regional representative, Yu Faisal, challenged the students to use their new design thinking tool to start businesses and give back to their communities.
Your future. So let's do it together. So, and don't be afraid, because every successful people fail at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So this means if you fail, stand up, think about it, what can I change? Do it again, go for it. So, and I'm sure at one time you will succeed.
The seminar was conducted from November 16 to the 20th at the Bartek Computer Lab and delivered by the CD's technical team. Meanwhile, the principal of the Barley Technical Institute, Bartek, Paulette Hanaway, has lauded the partnership with the CED over the past 4 years, saying that it has convinced her that youth entrepreneurship training is the way to go in order to maximize their potential. Hanaway said she has seen growth among her students in their interpersonal skills, academic performance, problem solving, and decision-making abilities as a result of the CED's intervention.
Help you to understand the value that this training has added not only to you but to our school, and it is going to spill off in our community. Lenisha, Nantan, all of you, I have seen immense growth. Even you, Shakima, I was looking at you. And I just want to commend you and encourage you not to stop here.
Hanaway also urged her students to persevere.
After your training, in whatever skill area, look for the problems, identify the problems, and not just that, try to fix the problems. Amen. We all have it within us. Work hard in silence and let your success make the noise. I will forever say that. Work hard in silence and let your success make the noise. We can all change St. Vincent. We can do it one skill at a time.
Participants in the training shared what the experience was like.
I knew I wanted to start a business, but I didn't know how to. Now with this training, I'm at an advantage now. So I thank you.
I think, especially for my group, that we appreciated the group activities, coming together, thinking, brainstorming together, because multiple heads are better than one. We came up with great ideas, we came up with great solutions, and I want to thank my team for being as lovely as they are.
My business will be so hard, and I like to, whoever wants to start a business, I applaud you. I really do. It is hard as training monkeys. So I'm glad that I continued this, because after the second day I told Miss Patrick, I don't want to do it anymore. So she said, no, continue, and I did, and I loved it.
And the Marion House offers a range of programs covering 15 skills, which director of the institution, Jeannie Oliver, said are in great demand. However, she said many prospective students have had to be turned away due to limited funding. Oliver said that the programs are usually held at 3 locations, but only 2 locations were used during the last cycle due to funding constraints.
Demand. We had to stall the applications for the youth program because of the number of persons that were coming. Persons will be coming in, persons will be calling on telephone, and persons will be sending you emails requesting information about the program. And usually we have about 300% more applications than what we can really deal with.
Oliver said that some organizations and agencies have been advertising Marion House programs without their knowledge, and this has caused some problems for the institution.
Or we are being bombarded by young people who would like to get into our program, even though we have not advertised and said that application has commenced. So I would like to ask my brothers and sisters out there who have who belong to different organizations, while you could say it to the people, the young people in your organizations, you have to realize that Marion House is a volunteer organization.
Oliver, who is a volunteer director, said Marion House does not receive government support for its programs and funding is sourced internationally. She explained that 1.3 million EC dollars was approved for a 3-year program for youths, and while some programs have commenced, others will start in January 2021.
All the programs have restarted except the youth program. Phase 2 of our parenting program has commenced. Phase 2 of our substance abuse program, the Right Step program, has commenced, and the domestic violence support program is ongoing. Our youth program will 2021 will begin in January of 2021.
And this year, 76 youths are expected to graduate from various programs offered by the Marion House. In other news, the Roads, Buildings and General Services Authority, BRAXA, has completed the construction of a new tuck shop and home economics quarters at the Bucament Bay Secondary School. The project saw the demolition of the old timber structure, which was replaced by a painted concrete building. In a release, BRAXA said the new building was retrofitted to house a tuck shop and the school's home economic quarters. Electrical and plumbing work was also done on the building. Political parties have eclipsed every other organization in the country, with everything resolved around pushing their agenda. That's the view expressed by lawyer and social commentator Jomo Thomas on SVG-TV's Viewpoint program last Sunday, which examined the existing socio-economic development gaps and what should the government's priorities be to realize a better quality of life for citizens.
The same way in which we had the Richmond Hill Sport and Cultural Club or the Sion Hill Sport and Cultural Club. Now we have the NDP and the ULP as the paramount organizations. So you would watch your brother or somebody brutalize a man, but you would say nothing because, boy, my government just did that. And you know it's wrong, but you wouldn't say anything. And that is because everything has been rearranged to make you now stand in solidarity with something that is fundamentally against your best interests. Because, as the old saying go, as Angela Davis used to say, if they come for me in the morning, they can come for you at night.
Mikhail Mohammed, who was also a panelist on the program, said there is a need to educate the public on the political processes. Mohammed, who is a special assistant to Minister Louis Farrakhan, added that while a number of persons are politicized, they do not fully understand politics.
The day after the election, I was in Fitzhugh, stopped at a shop, grab a drink, and of course, it was the day after the election, so now that's all they're talking about, and you have this, I labor to the bone, and I NDP in my blood, and I'm like, I look at them, it's like, your labor to the bone? Your labor? But if you show up at Parliament and tell them you labor, they're going to pull the chair at the cabinet? No, you're not labor, you're a fan. You're a fan. You know, and understand that. Election time is the time for you to hire a manager for your business. That is your country. You should be standing back and looking. But we don't have that concept. We have the concept that we're choosing our boss, when in fact we're the boss. We don't know that. People don't understand that. So they're very politicized, they're very active politically, but they do not understand politics. They do not understand how politicians move.
The panel, which also included lawyer and social commentator Roderick Jones and social activist Aisha Jackson, agreed that there have been deliberate attempts by political parties over the years to polarize the country to the benefit of politicians. They said it is time that the people stand up and call a spade and hold politicians accountable for their actions.
For example, the Prime Minister was bemoaning the fact that sailors who he brought home and assisted to bring home actually teamed up and voted against him. I was appalled that such a remark would be made by the leader of a country. I mean...
Well, that's misbehavior in public office.
But there's several issues there.
I mean, for you to get up... I saw that thing and I was just Appalled, I don't think the English language has a word that can explain it. You have citizens of a country making a decision. In the first place, it's rather disingenuous for you to try to make out that you know the vast majority of these people voted, right?
If you're saying that, then it's not secret
it's secrecy of the ballot, of course. Right, because if you're saying that with scientific certainty, there's no secrecy of the ballot.
Yes.
And if there's secrecy of the ballot, then it means when you say that as the most powerful political figure in the country, you're trying to intimidate the entire country. Don't play the fool with me, I know how you vote. And how do we do that in a democracy? How do you do that? I mean,
because you can't get away with it. That's my point. You can't get away with it. You can say such a things, and your electorate will not even. There's not enough people that will get appalled. There's not even enough people that will even pick up on this and say, but this makes no sense.
You know the thing that eats my heart is when I look at the papers the next week, and there's not even an editorial of condemnation. The so-called columnists don't pick it up and speak about it and say, look, check yourself. You can't do this. You know, and so every single day there's another emboldened act of effrontery.
32 Islands Inc., a medical cannabis farm, is now a part of the medical cannabis industry here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. On Thursday, October 29th, officials from the Medical Cannabis Authority, the MCA, the Ministry of Agriculture, and representatives of various traditional groups journeyed to Richmond to witness the official launch of 32 Islands Inc. The company was established by locals and Vincentians living in the USA. Speaking at the launching ceremony, Operating Officer of 32 Islands Inc., Novel Abraham, explained the work engaged in preparing the farm. He said the company's plan is to establish a diversified farm that also incorporates the cultivation of other crops.
We are not going to plant the medical cannabis alone because we have to eat, right? And we cannot eat the cannabis. We can, after processes and so, we can either drink or do other things, but we need food. And I'm a trained agriculturist, so I am very serious and strong. So we're going to put 1 acre in fruit, vegetables, root crops. And we're going to focus on putting 2.5 acres in medical cannabis. And then other half acre, you see behind your back, where we're going to put our giant house, our tower, our greenhouse, our nursery. And we're going to utilize the river down there to become.
Speaking about the progress and accomplishments made thus far, Chief Executive Officer of the Medical Cannabis Authority, Dr. Gerald Thompson, outlined the pillars of the medical cannabis industry, which include the laws and regulations, international banking solution, and a seed-to-sale traceability system and cannabis testing labs.
And we have carved out a very special area in this industry for the traditional cultivator. For start, they don't have to pay for a license. They pay for an application, that's $100, but unlike the investor, unlike 32 Islands, the traditional cultivator does not pay a license fee, at least for the first 2 years. And this is allowing them to make a start. But what we're doing there, up at Top Hill, is making sure that individuals who want a stake in this industry, that they have a right and that they have a place at the table. And in this, we are going to give the traditional cultivators all the level of support.
Dr. Thompson said the MCA has identified over 200 acres of vacant lands in Lasham and Top Hill in North Leeward for cultivation purposes. Traditional cultivator Junior Spirit Cuttle commended the government and the MCA for the progress made thus far and the trust towards ensuring that traditional cultivators are fully incorporated into the industry.
The CRC has to take the position of we representing traditional growers, and in the same way we just say to the government what we don't want that, we must also say to any other force in this country that if they go around and we see something happening not in our interest, it is my responsibility. It is the CRC responsibility to talk about it.
Also speaking at the event, Member of Parliament for North Leeward, Carlos James, explained the work involved in achieving a banking solution for the industry and urged that traditional cultivators cooperate with investors for the success of the industry.
On the medicinal cannabis aspect of the industry, which is improving our healthcare and our science, but importantly, we have to now stay within certain perimeters, focusing on healthcare, the transfer of technology in the medicinal industry, using cannabis, focus on our traditional cultivators that they too benefit from the enhancements to our science or agri-technology, and to ensure that they also benefit commercially and financially from the production of cannabis, medicinal cannabis in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. These are some of the things that we have been navigating and building the industry in a way which is sustainable. You don't want to build an industry and then next week there are fine prints in the legislation that you see that is in contravention with international law.
The new medical cannabis farm received its cultivation license at last month's launching ceremony.